we can have everybody come over. Hi.
Come on over. Woo! Woo! This is just the beginning of brawling for the Equal Rights Amendment. As you know, it's Women's Equality Day, and there cannot be a women's equality without saying we got to put the Equal Rights Amendment into the Constitution. We have ratified 38 states. Now it's just technicalities. We're here because we want the Supreme Court to hear, but we also want the Senate to hear. A lot of them are giving tributes to Afghan women, but we want them to make sure they do something for women worldwide. A statement of putting equal rights amendment in the United States Constitution will help women worldwide. We want everybody to know that the sisters in Afghanistan, that we are not only remembering them, but they're our sisters. We're fighting for them in every way that we know how. This movement is global, and it will not rest until all women everywhere and all girls are treated equally, and frankly, that there is no discrimination on the basis of sex. Yeah. Woo! 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 The Feminist Majority is a co-sponsor of this event with the ERA Coalition. We're members of the ERA Coalition. I want to salute its leadership. They've done a terrific job. And standing to my right is Carol Jenkins, the president and CEO director of the ERA Coalition. And for those that are watching on the virtual, it is really, really hot here. So if we stumble and fall down, we know that others will always stand up for equality for women. And Carol kept saying to me, emphasize, this is the first. We are going to be on fire the entire fall. We demand that the ERA is placed in the Constitution. So Carol, it's all yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ellie. And we are so thrilled to be sharing this event with Ellie and our partners. You know, the coalition is closing in on 200 organizations across the country. Yeah. And there are a lot of them who are here who have come from across the country to stand with us in front of the Supreme Court. And you know what we're looking at? The United States Senate. We have our eyes on you. We want you to do something and do something fast. You're back in on September 16th. Let's talk about women who live in America. Let's talk about the discrepancy. Let's talk about, there are some people who call this Women's Inequality Day because it is persistent. We just recently talked about Black Women's Equal Pay Day, 63 cents to a white man's dollar that he made the year before. And you know how much it has improved in the last 30 years? 3 cents. Yeah. So for those of us who say, what do women want? There are so many things. Life is so good. Life is not good for so many women in America, and that's why we need the Equal Rights Amendment. That's right. So I'm going to turn it back to Ellie. We have a lot of fiery speakers who are going to kick it off, who participated in getting us this far. We are really close, and we need your support. Write to your senators. Make sure they bring up the Equal Rights Amendment when they get back in September.
Hear, hear. Yes. We want you to write. We want you to call. We want you to picket. We want you to know that this is it. And one of the reasons that this is it is that after ratifying 35 states, the movement was thrown one hurdle after another. But the person who reignited the movement is Pat Spearman, who led the fight to pass it in Nevada, starting the surge to the end, and that's what we want to do, is finish it victoriously in the Constitution. Pat Spearman is a legislator from the state of Nevada. The state of Nevada was like one vote closer, and so much politics played, but she stopped the politics played, and she not only got the ERA ratified, but she helped lead a drive which made Nevada, I think, the first state in the union to have a majority women legislators. You want to come? You're the next speaker. Okay. Pat Spearman. woman, the firebrand for the great state of Nevada. And we owe you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, sisters. Come on, do better than that. Good morning, sisters. And my brothers. Everybody that's here to celebrate women's inequality, but moving towards Equality Day. How y'all doing? I just want to say a couple of things, and I appreciate Ellie, and I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody saying that I was the one, but you know what? Just like I'm standing on this podium, I was standing on the shoulders of so many other people who kept this fight alive until I got here. And so I may be the face that you see on reigniting it, but it's all those other faceless people who just kept marching, kept talking. They're the ones that we are here to celebrate again today. So I'm not going to be here long, but listen, I want you to look at somebody and say this. Say, take the shackles off my feet. Come on, take the shackles off my feet. I know that Supreme Court Justice said, take your knee off my neck, and I just want to play off on that. Take the shackles off my feet, because what we're fighting for right now is we are fighting not just for pay equity in one state, but we're fighting for pay equity in the law. So take the shackles off my feet. We're fighting not just for pay equity, but we're fighting also that we will be able to get the promotions that we earned when we earned them, and not be denied just because we're women. So what? We keep fighting because we want justice when we report sexual harassment and sexual assault, and we don't want them to come up with the whole thing, boys will be boys. So we keep fighting because we want to do what? Take the shackles off our feet. We keep fighting because in retirement, women make much less during their working years. And so in retirement, we have more women who retire in poverty. And so we keep fighting because we want you to what? Take the shackles off our feet. We want to take the shackles off of our feet because we need everybody. No, let me say it like we do in the street. We need everybody to recognize the existential nature of our already equality. So I'm saying to everybody, especially the Congress, you're not here today, but I know somebody's watching on Facebook. I'm saying to everybody all across this land, all across this world, we are going to get the shackles off of our feet. Why? Because it's time for us to dance inequality. It's time for us to dance black women, white women, trans women, Asian women, LGBTQ, everybody. It's time for us to dance, and we will not stop fighting. We will not stop pressing. We will not stop agitating. We will not stop making good trouble. We will not stop doing any of this until we are in the Constitution. And when we are in the Constitution, the shackles will be off of our feet, and we're going to dance, dance, dance. So what? Take the shackles off my feet. Thank you, and God bless you.
Now you see why we had Pat Spearman speaking in the hearing in the House of Representatives. She got it passed twice, and now we need the Senate to pass the time limit removal bill. I would like to bring up now the state of Virginia. As you know, Virginia was our 38th state, and this is the woman, Jennifer Carroll Foy, who gave us the 38th state. She will say that others did it, but she has, absolutely mesmerized the country and persuaded the state of Virginia to say, yes, we're voting for women, we're voting for equality. Jennifer Carroll Foy.
All right, so good afternoon. No, we can do better than that, ladies and gentlemen. I said good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, I am Jennifer Carroll Foy. And when I tell you that when former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg right here declared that women are equal, that we are deserving of all things, even to go to all-male colleges like Virginia Military Institute, people tried to deny us. They said it wasn't possible, that women aren't equal. We can't run as fast, we can't push as hard, we can't climb as high. And when I heard this, the first thing I did was apply. So when people try to tell us what's possible, let me tell you that I stand here as one of the first women to ever graduate from Virginia Military Institute. When I decided to run for office while pregnant with twins, people said it couldn't happen. You need to wait your time and wait your turn. But I ran and I won. And the first thing I did was join forces with Eileen Davis, with ERA Coalition, with Feminist Majority, now League of Women Voters, ratify ERA, Virginia, all of us doing the work of getting it done. And I stand here to tell you that when they said it wasn't possible, together we passed my resolution making Virginia the 38th and final state needed to enshrine women's equality into the United States Constitution. So again, ladies and gentlemen, they're trying to deny us. They're trying to tell us what's possible, what we can and cannot do. But let us be unequivocally clear. Our fate should not be dependent on who's in office, and our freedom should not be dependent on an election. And laws can change just as quickly as legislators change their minds. That's why we need 160 million women and girls to stand in the sun in their full constitutional equality. So Congress, courts, hear me and hear me well. We are here to agitate for equality. We are demanding it without an apology. We will disrupt the status quo. We will fight for change. Because at the end of the day, it is now our time. It is now our turn. We will get this done. And there's only one way to spell equality today, and that's E-R-A. Let's get it done. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Jennifer Carroll Foy. Read that name. You'll hear more and more from her. Now it's my honor to introduce the National Organization for Women. They've been here, I don't need to introduce now, you all know it. They've been, ever since its founding in 67, 66, 67, they've been a leader in the drive for the equal rights men. They, the we, I'm very identified with that, and I'm very proud of my years of service to now. We helped get it through the Congress, and now have been steadfast of trying to pass it. The president, Christian Newman, is ill today, so, but Bear Atwood, the vice president, who has been on the road for years and years representing New Jersey and representing Mississippi, and she's been in hard states and easy states, but definitely on the mark fighting for equality for women. Bear Atwood.
I'm so proud to be here today with all of you and to join this remarkable coalition to stand up for equality. The horrific events taking place in Afghanistan show what happened when the clocks runs out on equality for women. Unequal rights for women are a problem in the United States as well. Not like they are in Afghanistan, but a problem in the United States. And until equal rights for women are enshrined in the Constitution, no woman is safe from discrimination or worse. The debate over the artificial timeline on the ERA is based on lies, distortions, and disinformation. It is propaganda emanating from the right-wing think tanks, ultra-conservative politicians, and just plain misogynists. But the groups here today are pushing back, and we are going to be heard. Our political leaders like to portray the U.S. as a shining example of democracy, but our Constitution is built on a mistake that has long demanded correction. We are here today in front of this building where our laws of system of justice are debated, hopefully protected, and strengthened. We can't say we have a real democracy until we write the ERA into the Constitution. The National Organization for Women has been a leading force on the ERA since our very beginning. Now adopted a resolution in support of the ERA at our second national convention in 1967. And the March for Equality Now, organized in 1978 to push for the extension of the timeline, was the largest in feminist history at the time. In the years since, we've been with you on the front lines, working with coalitions, organizing in our chapters and on the national level, and speaking out and demanding progress. Opponents of equality know they can't win their argument based on merit, so they try to game the system. And there's no better example of this than the Senate filibuster. Breaking the logjam of the filibuster will open the doors to democracy. Eliminating this relic of the Jim Crow would send the Senate to remove the timeline for the ERA ratification, along with other priorities such as the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So today, we're calling on the Senate to end the filibuster and unblock the equality agenda that is so urgently needed and so overwhelmingly popular, with the ERA coalition's polling showing 94% support for the amendment. So let's leave here today strengthened by our shared commitment, focused on the challenges ahead, and inspired by this rally to finally, at long last, put equality in the Constitution. It's time for the ERA now. Thank you.
ERA, 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 ERA. As Jennifer says, how do you spell equality? ERA. And Bear, thank you. And we want to thank now members of the coalition, and we can thank now for Women's Equality Day as well. I don't know, 50,000 women marched down Fifth Avenue in 1970, organized by the National Organization for Women. And of course, Bella Abzug went to Congress the next year in 71 and had Congress declare August 26th of every year Women's Equality Day. Presidents have issued a proclamation every year, and we expect the proclamation from President Biden and Vice President Harris today. It is my pleasure now to introduce Deborah Turner, who is the president of the League of Women Voters of the United States. She is also chair of the Board of Trustees of the League of Women Voters Education Fund. And the work that she has done with the League has been, really tremendous. They are emphasizing not only racial equity, but also intergenerational dynamics, socioeconomic differences, gender identity, and interpersonal relationships as well. We have been delighted to work with the League of Women Voters in our elect equality last election cycle. Deborah, please come forward, and thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the ERA Coalition for hosting this important event here in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. Hello, equal rights activists. How are you this morning? Are you as excited and pumped as I am about where we're going? All right. I am Dr. Deborah Turner, president of the League of Women Voters of the United States. As an organization which was born out of suffrage movement, the League has been proud to campaign for the Equal Rights Amendment for many, many years. The suffragists knew their work was not finished at the passage of the 19th Amendment. This was just the beginning. They knew that full equality of the sexes deserved a place in our Constitution. They knew it was hard work, but it was not done. We've been fighting this fight for over 100 years. Come on, folks, let's get it done. And now the ERA is closer than ever to taking its right place in the supreme law of our land. What stands in our way is an arbitrary, ambiguous, and legally questionable deadline for enactment. Congress has the power to change this. The House has done their part by voting to remove the deadline. The Senate now has a duty. Let me say this again. The Senate now has a duty to the women, to gender minorities, and allies of this nation to clear the final hurdle and enshrine the ERA into law. They have no legitimate excuse for ignoring the demand of the people. It is important to recognize that while the ERA is strongly linked to women's rights, inequality hurts everyone. The ERA represents a promise that our government will not discriminate against people on its basis of sex. The ERA will protect those of us who are transgender and non-binary. It will give us the tools to fight for equal pay. It will provide fair health care coverage addressing maternal mortality and coverage for caregivers. It will provide protection against gender testing laws, and it will prevent gender discrimination against our LGBTQ persons. It will create protections for men in occupations and roles traditionally held by women, and it will protect against rollbacks in women's rights. We need the ERA because just as many women of color face barriers for voting until the Voting Rights Act, today women of color are more likely to be underpaid and discriminated against than white women. The ERA would make the Constitution prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex and race. We need the ERA because our nation must close the book once and for all on the idea that equality of rights is a debatable issue. Really, folks, get a grip. Because the Constitution is not only a set of legal protections, it is a proclamation of a nation's values. So why do we stand here today in front of the Supreme Court? Because the justices of this court are the guardians of our Constitution. They are charged with ensuring equal justice for all under the law. It is long past time we included equality of the sexes among our greatest ideas in that very law. Congress must eliminate the deadline. There is no time limit on equality. The Equal Rights Amendment belongs in our Constitution, no question. Thank you, and let's go get it done.
Thank you. And yes, let's get it done. In fact, while you're listening either here or at home, virtually, or at the office, wherever you are, think about what you can do for the Equal Rights Amendment in this next period. This is it. We're at the final gate, and we're going to make sure that all obstacles are eliminated. And the first obstacle is this crazy time limit that the Senate has the power to change, and we're going to demand that they do it. The next person I want to introduce is also a champion for civil rights and the women's rights and the Equal Rights Amendment. She's been in so many battles as Melanie Campbell, as she's been organizing. She's been the organizer and the leader of the National Conference of Black Civic Participation, or the Big Vote. She's also known, and she deserves to be known, for the chairing the Black Women's Roundtable, but I can't tell you how many marches we've been to and how many we're together, united, and I can't tell you that she has sister vote on there, not just register, sister vote. Anyway, thanks, Melanie, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, my sister Ellie and Carol, for your leadership. Thank you all for being out here in this cool breeze of a day. But look, the clouds are, so that's a good sign, right? So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here on this historic day, and to focus in on something that we all know is way past time. In a couple of days, we'll be out here marching again to protect our voting rights. So it's something about August, the month of August, that's holding back freedom for all of us. That's holding back not just those of us who are here, but holding back on the girls that are coming behind us, who are depending on us to get this done. So can we say we're going to get this done? We are here today to be the voice of 94% of the American people who support the Equal Rights Amendment inclusion into the Constitution of the United States. For decades, women, Black women, white women, LGBTQ plus women, trans women, Latinx women, APIA vote women, Native American women, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and I think most men, I think, know that it's past time for the ERA to become a reality. We're over half the population of the United States. It's really not a partisan issue. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of respect. Over 90% of Republicans, Democrats, and independents support the ERA. It's not a racial or gender issue. People of all races and ages support the ERA. So why is it that we don't have it yet? Why is it that we don't have it yet? So we're in a different time now. Women, black women, I'll speak for specifically, we're tired of some of the stuff that's been going on, so we're going to demand the respect. We're glad to be here. I'm glad to be a black woman standing united with these women. Because if we come together, really, to fight for our freedoms, the ERA is just a down payment on what needs to happen for women. ERA is an economic issue. ERA is a human rights issue. ERA, it's time to get it done now. Yet, here we are in 2021, and women are still one sentence short away from being ensured equal rights here in the United States. This is a shameful commentary on the United States as we look at what's happening over there in Afghanistan. And thank you, Ellie, for all you do, and a lot of you all for fighting to make sure that we all get that that's our issue as well. So now is the time to say it's time's up. Senate, do your jobs. We got out in the COVID. We're still out here in the middle of a COVID pandemic. Why? Because it's worth it. Why? It's the time is now. So say it with me. ERA now. ERA now. ERA now. Thank you.
Yes, we're going to do it. We're not coming back. By the way, it's essentially 100 years. It's enough already. This has to go now. I'm now going to introduce an old friend too, who we've been together for many, many battles and many different incarnations. But anyway, Ife Williams, Dr. Ife Williams, who is the president of the National Congress of Black Women. She's also was on the board of NOW. She's been fighting for equal rights in every way possible, and she's also the president of the Dick Gregory Society. So yes, there are good men, and yes, we have a majority of men and women, an overwhelming majority. People think it's already done because they think it should be there. Anyway, so right now, though, I want you to hear this speaker who is not just a speaker. She's been with us every inch of the way. Ife Williams, Dr. Ife Williams, is a brilliant minister as well as a lawyer.
Thank you, Ellie. Hello, everybody. Hello. There is an African proverb that says it is the women who hold the sky up. Isn't the sky up there? The sky has never fallen. So, it's time for us to make that count. My good friend Dick Gregory always said, if we put our clothes in the washing machine and we don't have an agitator in it, when it's all finished, all you're going to have is some dirty clothes. So we got to motivate, we've got to demonstrate, and we've got to agitate until the Equal Rights Amendment is here. We women have allowed too much to happen because we have allowed our issues to be separate. We don't always come together to support each other's issues as human beings in this country. We listen every day to those men over on Capitol Hill who talk about how terrible it is and what's going to happen to the women and girls of Afghanistan, as has been said before. And yet right here in this country where they're free to vote for what is morally right any day they walk into that building. But do they? We need to agitate. We need to tell them and make it clear there is no limit on equality. We need to tell them also that it is the women who understand that we cannot anymore be partly free than a woman can be partly pregnant. We have to make these things known to these people who would stand up for someone else. The whole world is watching us. They're listening to what we're saying, but they're also looking at what we are doing. And how can we say that we're so concerned about our sisters in Afghanistan if we're not concerned about the equal rights of our people right here. We must make it clear that as human beings, we are for everything that is morally right, whether it's for a black woman, an Asian woman, a Native woman, a white woman, and all the others, black women too, for all the others that have been called out here today. My sisters, we must stand together. We must not be afraid, and we cannot afford to get tired. And I want to end my few minutes here with a story that most of you enjoy that I tell you. It's about the strength and the knowledge and the beauty of all women. This woman got up one morning and decided she was going to go out on her boat. You know, only wealthy women have boats, but on this boat, and she was going to read her book. And she went out there, and this game warden walked up and said, "Ma'am, you can't fish here." She said, "But I'm not fishing. I am reading." "Oh, I know," he said, "but you know, you got all the equipment here and you can start anytime." Well, the other side of that is to show you how bright women are and that we can get this job done. She says, "And if you do that, sir, I'm going to have to say you raped me." He said, "But I didn't rape you." She said, "But you've got all the equipment. You could do it anytime." We can pass this Equal Rights Amendment if we do what we should do. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ife Williams. And it's true, as Ellie says, she's been in the trenches with us for many, many, many years. Thank you. And I do want to point out that both Melanie Campbell and Jennifer Carroll Foy are on the ERA Coalition Advisory Council. And the only reason Pat Spearman isn't is that she's still in office. But, you know, we'll get her. Well, maybe we won't. I think she's going for higher office. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait for her a long time. It is my pleasure now to introduce Amy Hinojosa, who is president and CEO of MANA, a national Latina organization. They've just become members of the coalition. If you're out there, part of an organization and want to join us, please do go to our website. Again, closing in on 200 social justice, LGBTQ, all kinds of organizations, faith, joining the coalition to get the Equal Rights Amendment done. Amy is focusing primarily on leadership, advocacy, and community service at MANA. We are delighted that she's a member of the coalition. Amy, please come forward, and thank you so much for the great work you're doing and for joining the coalition.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us as part of the coalition, for always being a leader of the ERA Coalition, the Feminist Majority Foundation, for always being leaders for women and always standing up for what is right. As she said, my name is Amy Hinojosa, and I'm the president and CEO of MANA, a national Latina organization, and it is my great privilege to be here and to be here on behalf of our chapters, affiliates, national members, and supporters all over the country as we support passage of the ERA. It's time. Ya es hora. We are, a couple of folks have mentioned the heat, and we're standing out here in the heat. This Texas girl is okay with it, but as we stand out here today, thank you, Texas. As we stand out here today, I want us to think about our Latinas, our women, farm workers who are out in the field, picking our food, making sure, who have literally been the backbone of our economy in this COVID crisis. And so I want to make sure that we keep them and lift them up and keep them in our hearts and minds as we talk about making sure that there is equality for all women. Following in Dr. Williams' lead, there is a saying among Latinos, a dicho, if you will, "Dime con quién andas y yo te diré quién eres." Tell me who you associate with and I will tell you who you are.
Yes.
And so this is why MANA, as Latinas, we are so proud to link arms with all of our sisters from all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all colors of the rainbow, all faiths, to say that now is the time for equality. And we are here on the hallowed steps of the Supreme Court, facing our U.S. Capitol to say loudly and clearly to the United States Senate that we will no longer be denied. We will no longer be ignored. We will no longer be relegated to second-class citizens. We deserve equality. We deserve equal protection in every format, and we will not be denied. So thank you very much for having us. Muchas gracias, and we will continue in the fight.
Great. We're all together. You can see how the rainbow of organizations, and this is just a portion of them. We have over 200 and growing. And by the way, there's this mythology, a lot of mythologies in news, but one of the mythologies is that the women's movement did not have the support of young people. I want to make it very clear. Some of us were young ones, and every inch of the way, every inch of the way, the young people have been the dominant factor in this movement for equality. We want to make sure we get this job done. And so, but they're going to help us get this job done because they're in the leadership of the current movement. I want to introduce Rosie Couture and Balan Yesigata, who are both activists organizing that they want to call it is Generation Ratify. They're doing it on their watch.
Hey everybody, how we feeling? My name is Rosie and I use she, they pronouns.
And my name is Blaine and I use she, her pronouns. And we are two high school seniors and as well as the founding mothers and co-executive directors of Generation Ratify, the youth-led movement to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment.
Woo!
We started out as a few teenagers in the library in Arlington, Virginia, and we've grown to an organization that is nationwide and has 10,000 young people and 55 state and local chapters across the nation we are working to organize youth around the ERA and gender equality in their communities. At Generation Ratify, we are working with youth to listen to their thoughts and to understand how the ERA would impact their lives, and we focus on the importance of intersectionality.
Woo! We could not be more grateful to be here in front of the Supreme Court and across the street from the Capitol to make this Women's Equality Day a call to action. Thank you. We are making our message clear to our leaders that we elected, I can't vote yet, but you elected, and we organized our butts off. We need the ERA and we need it now.
The Equal Rights Amendment does not guarantee liberation, but enshrining gender equality into our Constitution gives us a tool to advance justice for all people, and that means everyone here today. The ERA is all-encompassing, it is intersectional, and it fights for all communities. It fights for young people, queer people, people of color, immigrants, working people, disabled people, everyone. We must center the conversation around the people who stand to gain the most from the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. We must uplift and eliminate the narratives of folks who stand to gain the most from this nation, and this will allow us to shape the Equal Rights Amendment that includes everyone and build a coalition of people we need to get this done.
Woo! Yeah, Blaine! All of us have a stake in the Equal Rights Amendment, and we need to make sure that every single person sees themselves reflected in our fight and will reap the benefits of the 28th Amendment. To the ERA Coalition, Feminist Majority, Lisa Sales, the dozens of young people that turned out today, woo! Thank you. There is no time limit on equality. Let's get this done. And if you're a young person, we would love to take a picture after the speakers are done. Okay.
Thank you, Rosie and Blaine. Don't I qualify as one of the young people? I do want you to know that Generation Ratify is also a member of the coalition. And when we met Rosie some years ago, who was one of the co-founders, and she came over to us and said, I'm starting an organization and we'd like to work with you. And I, sort of asked someone, how old is Rosie? Then she was a sophomore in high school. And as a coalition member, we generally have our meetings at 12 o'clock on a Thursday or a Friday. And Rosie always says, can't you do it some other time? We're all in class then, So we are thrilled to have them, and they're also just joining our advisory council. And because, as we do work, we send drafts of things that we'd like to put out, petitions and whatever, and Generation Ratify, Rosie and Blaine always send it back saying, sorry, it's not intergenerational or intersectional enough, and we won't sign it until it is. So, so we are thrilled to have them on board, keeping us in line. It is now my pleasure to introduce David Broder, who is president of SEIU of Virginia. David has led fight after fight for economic justice, understanding the importance of our ability to work together to create our strongest successes towards fairness and equality. And he pledges today to bring people together in the pursuit of ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. David, we are thrilled to have you here today. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, sisters and brothers. You fired up? You fired up? I am honored to be here. I am David Broder. I serve as the president of SEIU Virginia 512. And today I have the very unenviable task of following Rosie and Blaine. But I am proud to be here today on behalf of the essential frontline working women and men of SEIU. Home care workers, nurses, child educators, social workers, janitors, librarians, and so many more. And I'm here on behalf of them to say, it is long past time for the ERA. And we are here to call on the U.S. Senate to ensure equal rights for all. Yes. Because there is no time limit on equality. Now, sisters and brothers, let me be very clear. The ERA is a union issue. Let me say that again. The ERA is a union issue. Because we will never achieve true economic equality without gender equality. Just as we will never achieve economic justice without racial justice, without immigrant justice. For as Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The pandemic has shone an even brighter spotlight on the inequities that have always existed in our economy, in our healthcare systems, in our community. And I want to be very clear that Black, brown, API, and immigrant women have been the hardest hit, have been working on the front lines every day, often without a living wage, without paid leave, without PPE, healthcare, or a voice on the job. For too long, since the founding of our nation, sexism and racism have denied, have stripped women of the right to a union, a right to have a voice on the job. And again, I want to be clear, when women don't have the right to join a union on the job, we all suffer. We all suffer because all our fights are united. And so I am here, we are here to say, enough is enough. It is time to stop calling workers essential, but not treating them as essential. It is time that we ensure that every working family has a living wage, paid leave, health care, and the right to join a union. It is time that we welcome every immigrant and every refugee into our community. It is time that we secure the right to vote for all people. And it is time to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. Thank you very much.
Over 100 years, generation upon generation of women's leaders have fought for the Equal Rights Amendment. Enough is enough. I want to make it really clear to everybody. We have a solid, strong majority in the House of Representatives, led by Nancy Pelosi, a masterful speaker and one of the historic speakers of all time. We also have a majority, a solid majority in the Senate. In both houses, we have a solid majority. That's why we are not going to be stopped by the supermajority, the we got to break the filibuster. And our people represent more, the majority represents more than 2/3 of the country. Because of gerrymandering, we are even bigger than the numbers would reveal. So we're not forgetting that, and we're going to keep saying it because it's true, and we're not going to be stopped by some relic of the Jim Crow days. The reason I'm saying this is I want you to know that this rally was emphasizing grassroots support and organizational support. There are going to be many, many more. But as we speak here, there's Women's Equality Days all over the country. And New York has been one of the strongest areas for equality. And Carolyn Maloney wanted to have a statement here because she has introduced the Equal Rights Amendment over and over in Congress, and as you know, is a supporter of the current drive as well. And so her statement is going to be read by Becca DeMonte, her legislative assistant.
Good afternoon and happy Women's Equality Day. My name is Becca DeMonte, and I am here today on behalf of Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney, who so wishes she could be here with you today on Women's Equality Day. Representative Maloney has been a staunch supporter and advocate for women's rights and equality going back to when she was told not to come back to work after having her first child. As many of you know, Representative Maloney has reintroduced the Equal Rights Amendment in every session of Congress since 1997. She was also thrilled to join Congresswoman Spear in co-sponsoring House Resolution 17, which would remove the arbitrary deadline placed on the ERA and passed in the House earlier this year. Like many of you here, Representative Maloney has been a longtime supporter of the ERA, long before it was ever considered mainstream or popular. That is because, as ERA pioneer Alice Paul once said, there is nothing complicated about ordinary equality. On behalf of Congresswoman Maloney, thank you for being in the fight and never giving up on the ERA. Rest assured, Congresswoman Maloney will use all the tools in her toolbox to get the ERA across the finish line once and for all. Onwards to equality. Thank you.
Onwards to equality. Onwards to equality.
Someone mentioned that to get the ERA extension passed, this was in the 70s, we had the largest march at that time for women's equality. But the largest march, without question, was the March of 2017, where it wasn't just a march. It was in 900 and some marches in the United States and almost every country of the world. It was spectacular. And that spirit is everywhere. Remember, this is a global movement. And I just want you to know that we've got to take action and do everything to help right now the women of Afghanistan, the strong leaders. I wanted to mention it again because people know that there's an explosion today in the airport. But we're determined that every women's rights advocate gets out of there, and we're determined to fight any institution that will practice, it's really apartheid there. They're practicing, but we hope, but we do more than hope. We work, and we want to salute the work of the Afghan women, and we are so proud to stand strongly with them. And I want you to visualize, as I introduce this next speaker and as she talks, that 2017 March for Women all over the world. We have to make that come to life so these folks that seem to be a little slow learners change the rules, gets this done. It is the 21st century. We don't need 18th century rules. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce Alison Tovar, who is representing the Women's March, which is now has joined the coalition and is spreading that spirit nationwide. Where is she? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Keep spreading the word.
Thank you. Oh, I'm like 5'2.5", so this feels really good. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allison Tovar, and I'm from the Women's March. Woo! Now, I know we're all here because we demand an explicit guarantee of protection engraved, etched into our Constitution. And I'm here to defend the rights the women before me have won for my entire generation. And I don't just mean from the 70s, I mean from the 1920s. Here we are on a historic day in which 101 years ago, women in the United States were granted the right to vote, but not all women. States intentionally created poll taxes and literacy tests to bar black women from qualifying to vote. They faced state-sanctioned violence and intimidation. 101 years ago, not all women were represented under U.S. rule. Our indigenous brothers, sisters, and two-spirits were displaced and massacred. The exploitation of fellow Central and South American and Caribbean sisters at the hands of American-owned plantations. Not all women triumphed 101 years ago. And this is why I'm proud that this movement looks different now. It has to. I am currently the Digital Defenders Content Strategist at the Women's March. And being here means talking about the events that are happening today, the events that are happening facing women in real life and online. Every day, I look at disinformation on the internet, content that is spread with the intention to mislead and target vulnerable internet users. Content that is meant to incite violence and translate to real-world violence against women. And as someone who works every day seeing the grave future that women face in this country today, doxing, revenge porn, online harassment translated to real-world violence, I've had it. The reality today is that the rate of incarceration for black women is 113 out of every 100,000, twice as many as white women.
Outrageous!
Widespread missing indigenous women in this country, an epidemic. We know that we're still battling a wage gap, and we know that women of color are making even less. My generation is done being attacked on the streets and on the internet.
Yes.
I am done pretending that equal rights have been secured for American women when they obviously have not. Across the street from us, they have not. We won't stop fighting until all women everywhere are protected under the law. Our trans sisters who still face violence on the streets, and young trans children who are not allowed to express themselves in schools, through healthcare, in our sports. We are here to recognize that women of color will not be cast aside or used as bargaining chips to negotiate with an unjust system.
Yes.
Our movement is incomplete without them. We will fight back and defend our hard-earned progress that we have won so many years ago. And this fully realized movement is tired of waiting on bureaucratic deadlines. The Senate has the power and the ability to lift the time limit so all women and non-binary folks are protected by their Constitution. It's not up for debate whether we deserve equal rights. It is our birthright, and I am not waiting another generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right, yesterday, the coalition staff knows that Instagram Live is like my nemesis. I don't know whether you've ever seen any wild photos of me as I've been attempting to get on Instagram Live, but I actually did a successful one with the Women's March yesterday as a lead up, and thank them so much for joining the coalition and for the great work that they're doing on the Equal Rights Amendment. I do want to recognize here in the audience the chair, the co-chair of our advisory council, Camille Massey. Can you come up and wave? Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, great. We've put together this great advisory council. You hear more about it. Powerful women who are, and some men who will be able to carry forth our work. At this point, and we are almost at the end of our gathering, and I do want you to know, as Pat Spearman said, we need women to stand in the sun. We definitely have done that today. We thank you all for the great crowd. We know that we have coalition members who've come from across the country to be with us today. So much appreciated. One of the reasons that we've been able to do such great work is the chair of, well, you may know that there are actually two entities. There's the ERA Coalition and there's the Fund for Women's Equality that do all of this work together. So the educational outreach piece of it would be the Fund for Women's Equality. And I would like to introduce our board chair now, Mona Sinha, who is also the board chair of Women Moving Millions, a globally recognized advocate for gender equality in business and society. And she has built a career, I cannot tell you. She was here this morning, getting our signs and all of that together. She's always with us. Mona Sinha, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. How are we feeling? You heard that almost 100 years ago, in 1923, the ERA was introduced in Congress. 2023 is a century we are not going to wait for. What stands in our way, you've heard from everyone, is an artificial time limit. It's time to get rid of it. Our representatives have done that. Thank you to Carolyn Maloney and everybody who's made it a priority. And now it's time for our Senate. There are no more excuses. Right? No more excuses. Today the world's a different place than it was 98 years ago, thank goodness. Look at what's unfolding in the gender equality space. And we see all around us, women's safety, women's rights are not guaranteed anymore around the world. And the world is watching us. We need unconditional equality. No more excuses. Unconditional equality. The words are simple. Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex. Woohoo! So what's so complicated about that? So today we have a more inclusive world. Raise your hand if you know or you are a woman, a queer person, a trans person, gender non-binary, a woman of color. We are all together in this fight, and you can see it from all the coalition members who are standing with us today. So it's our right and our duty to protect it. Let's get the ERA into the Constitution, and let's show the world that we are no longer the only democracy in the world that does not have equal rights in our Constitution, right? I am worth more than 57%. I'm worth more than 74%. We're fighting for 100%. Okay? So take 28 seconds, 28 minutes every single day. Call those senators. Tell the Supreme Court what we stand for. We can do this together, and we must do this together. Thank you all for being a part of this fight. We're going to get it done.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Mona. Thank you. And we want to thank everybody watching at home or in office. It will be up on our websites as soon as we can turn it around. But I think Ellie wants you to know that this is not the last. It may be the first time recently that we've gathered, but
yes, we want to emphasize this is just the beginning. We are going to make sure they deal with this issue and they don't kick the can down the road again. Every time they do that, they deny human beings called gender equality. Not human beings called gender equality. But anyway, it's hot here. Anyway, we got to get them to do it now. And so look for the notices, suggest things we can do. Let's make sure that no one misses the fact that we have a historical chance of finishing this job.
Thank you all so much. know we have to do this more often.
Yes, you did. You did.
It's so nice to see people. May I have one of these